food markets only.
Meet Susie Smart, she is so bright. On her blackboard you can write. She has a desk, she has a seat. What's your name, my darling sweet?
My name is Susie Smart.
She can talk!
She can talk, but can she add?
2 plus 2 is 4. Cat, C-A-T.
You can spell!
Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how
You recite!
Press the button, she says a dozen things, complete with desk, blackboard, and seat. Susie Smart, sold at food markets only.
What's this stuff? Some cereal. It's supposed to be good for you. Did you try it? I'm not gonna try it. You try it. I'm not gonna try it. Let's get Mikey. Yeah. He won't eat it. He hates everything. He likes it. Hey, Mikey.
This. All right. I'll swing by for a minute, allow them to envy me, grab a handful of popcorn shrimp, and blow out of there.
Yep, we'll swing something. I don't know what. Good evening, cats and kittens, pups and pooches. It's Sweepin' the Dirt with Susie Q96. In case you can't tell, I'm not feeling too sporty. I don't look too great either, but you're gonna have to deal with it because I got my little chipmunk cheeks tonight. Yeah. Anyway, it's metal detecting night, and we're actually going to do something metal detecting related here shortly. After I say hi to everybody, Furry Plants and Coins was the first one in the house tonight. Our perpetually tardy friend has made it on time. Yay! I know my camera angle is weird. I'm working on things. One of the things I want to show you. We're going to get dizzy when I do this. I found my sticker boards and I got them up here. I will eventually have a camera dedicated to them. That blank space right there, that's where Sir Benji's supposed to be, but he ain't there yet because he forgot to bring me a sticker today. But he did bring me some nickels to search, so, but that's for another time. Anyway, we did that. Got that done. Got my curtain rod up. Now I got to get this camera back where it was. Oh, let me see. Well, who else we got in here? We got Miss Annette Esmond. We got Jack. We got a new Marshall in town. And that's it for now. Hopefully some folks will show up. In the meantime, I got a newspaper article we'll start out with. A historic newspaper article from 1995. I had another one. I'm going to see if I can find it again, but we're going to do the 1995 one first. And this is about some guys who got themselves in some trouble because they were detecting where they weren't supposed to be. I talk about that periodically, especially I talk a lot about Florida ones. Stoner! Hey, how you doing? You're always on too late for me. I'm never awake. Oh my goodness. Let me see here. Oops, that's not the button I want. I want this button over here because I'm going to share the screen and we're going to read about some folks down in Alabama that got themselves in a little trouble back in 1995. Makes me kind of wonder if these guys are still detecting. They got in trouble because they were taking stuff they didn't have any permits to take. I'll read it to you. It's from the Montgomery, Alabama Advertiser, Wednesday, February 22nd, 1995. And our story is men charged with taking artifacts from battlefield. No permit. Police said 3 men were digging illegally near a riverbank at historic Blakely State Park. That is down by Spanish Fort, Arkansas. Arkansas? Alabama. Yeah, Alabama. Why did I say Arkansas? I don't know. 3 men with metal detectors were arrested and charged with removing Civil War artifacts from a battlefield in a public park near Mobile. Officers said the 3 had been digging illegally near a bank of the Blakely River at historic Blakely State Park. Stephen Howard Williams, 27, of Pensacola, Florida, Butch Brill, 37, of Robertsdale, and Marty Edward Weir, 33, also of Robertsdale, were jailed pending a court hearing. That seems a little excessive. Park rangers and an Alabama Marine police officer made the arrest Sunday afternoon. They seized 2 metal detectors, digging tools, a 14-foot boat, fragments of a cannonball, an apparent pistol fragment, several nails, and other excavated pieces. One of the metal detectors was painted in camouflage colors, said Alex Smith of the Alabama Marine Patrol. Why would you camouflage a metal detector unless you're doing something illegal? He asked. Each man faces charges of excavating artifacts on state property, excavating without a permit or permission, and a 3rd-degree criminal trespassing. Mr. Williams is also charged with 2 boating offenses. Mr. Brill is also being held on a warrant from Sumter County, Florida. Blakely Park, located in Baldwin County off Alabama 225, was a battleground in 1865 as the South collapsed. About 3,500 Confederate soldiers defended fortifications there against about 35,000 Union soldiers. A little outnumbered. Mary Grice, executive director of the park, said she believes the place where the men were seen lies near a major archaeological dig conducted several years ago, but not finished. She said there have been no major problems with illegal digging lately, but she's afraid recent publicity about development disputes will draw pillagers. A couple of interesting things about that article. One is that they charged them of excavating on state property, and then they charge them with excavating without a permit or permission. So I'm wondering if these guys had just gone to the director of the park, would she have given them permission? My guess is no. That she probably wouldn't have. It does say, Jack, if there were any shell casings found. Hi, William E. But the other thing I thought was interesting and might actually be a helpful idea when looking for a place to metal detect was they mentioned that there was a site of a former archaeological dig nearby. Now, I'm not condoning going into a park and doing that at all. And of course, that was in 1995. But if you could locate a piece of property where you were allowed to metal detect, or might be allowed to metal detect, where there had been an archaeological dig, you might be able to find something that way. Never occurred to me. I worked on a couple of archaeological digs down in Florida. One of them started out very routine. They were going to build they had knocked down an old building and they were going to build a fancy new building for the local utility company in that town. And guy was out there starting to dig for the foundation and hit human bones. So then, of course, the construction had to stop. And they got a bunch of us from the University of South Florida out there to, they thought they just had one body. Well, then it became apparent that this was a cemetery. And it turned out to be a very, very old cemetery. It stopped construction of this building way longer than a year. And I think we ended up with 20-something burial sites. And what was interesting about it was some of them were white men and some were Indians. And of course, immediately the question was, well, are you sure they're Indians? Indians didn't bury people in cemeteries. And the answer to that was no, but white people buried Indians in cemeteries. Turns out that this particular, we're going to answer that question in a minute, William. Just hang on. First of all, it's mostly illegal, and I'm going to read you a newspaper article that's going to tell you why you don't want to do that. And we are going to address that question very soon, as soon as I finish my story. They eventually removed all the bodies from that cemetery and let the utility company build their little thing. Hi, try again. But in answer to William's question, I'm going to get this article, the other article that I wanted to read tonight. These are from historic newspapers. I accidentally shut my window on that, so I gotta see if I can find it again. Yeah, this one comes from Camden, where? I think New Jersey. It's this paper. No, Camden, Tennessee. I didn't know there was such a place. Okay, this comes from Camden, Tennessee, Benton County, Tennessee, in 1989. Let me get it up here on the screen. All right. Hunting the church is one thing. Hunting the cemetery is something different. And after I read you this little article, you'll understand why. Now, I have hunted churches. In fact, I had a church ask me to come hunt the property where their church had originally been located because they were trying to figure out exactly where on the property the church had been. because there was a cemetery next to it, but the cemetery was fenced off. The only time I have detected in a cemetery, I was called in by the owners of the property because a lady lost her car keys at a funeral. And they asked me if I would come out there and go over the place because they had walked all around the cemetery and she didn't know where she lost her keys. So they did call me, and the owners were there with me. It was owned by a church. And I did find the lady's keys for her. Okay, I'm going to read you this little story here called Men with Metal Detector Arrested. This is from April 13th, 1989. From the Jackson, Tennessee Sun, page 7. Men with metal detector arrested. Camden. 2 Benton County men were arrested last week after sheriff's deputies found them in Crooked Creek Cemetery near Danville with a metal detector. A passerby spotted the 2 men slowly sweeping the cemetery grounds with the detector and called authorities. John Joseph Sisman, 41, of Big Sandy, and Dale Orrin Heminger, 37, of Camden, were arrested about 2 p.m. April 5th for disturbing a graveyard. The men told deputies they were just trying out the metal detector, said Benson County Sheriff Bobby Shannon. The Sheriff's Department is investigating whether the men might have been involved with last fall's robbery of a cast iron casket in Mount Zion, Shannon said. So there's your number one reason you don't want to go detecting in a cemetery. You could get charged with grave robbery or worse. Like I said, unless you have a specific permission to be in there, you do not want to detect in a cemetery. Land your little butt in jail. Now, I know this week, Deej is going to have a special about being allowed to detect in a cemetery, but this is a very special thing with permission. Otherwise, you need to keep your happy little butt out of there because you can end up in jail just like those fellas in Tennessee did. Do I believe they were innocently detecting? Maybe. But in light of the fact that that area had had someone in their recent time period pilfering a metal casket, who do you really want to put yourself in that position? A. And B, would you want somebody desecrating your family's graves? No, probably not. So it is not recommended. The church is different. If the church gives you permission to do the church grounds, I have detected a lot of churches, but you don't go in the cemetery. The one that asked me to come, they had fenced in their cemetery, but they weren't 100% sure where the original church building had been. And they thought if I found evidence of the church building, they could ascertain whether or not they had actually fenced in the entire cemetery. Well, I'm here to tell you, I didn't find a whole lot out there. I did find some square nails, however, which indicated roughly where the original church building had been. but they pretty much had the whole cemetery fenced in. If there were any graves outside that fence, I didn't find any evidence for them of that. And the reason they wanted to do that was they wanted to make that a parking area, but they wanted to make sure it was clear that there were no graves outside of where they thought they were. Now, I'm looking forward to Deeja's show because I want to see. She hasn't told me how she got permission or whatever on this, but the answer to your question, I don't recommend it for a number of reasons. Morally and ethically, I wouldn't want somebody digging up my grandma or digging down there to see if they could get her jewelry or something. No. And especially older cemeteries, a lot of times the burials were not in coffins, and you would actually be desecrating a grave, which is what these guys got charged with. I don't know what the end result of that was, but they was in a heap of trouble. You dig where you're not supposed to dig. You dig without permission. I see people all the time on videos, and I know they don't have permissions. They're assuming that because a piece of property that they are on is city owned or county owned, that it's public land and they can just automatically go there, and that is not the case. Unless that county has a policy like that. Now, the county I lived in Virginia, we could detect all the parks and that kind of stuff. I could detect school grounds. That was they used to issue permits, and they just gave up on issuing permits because there weren't that many people around there that wanted to detect anyway. So I had a busy day today. And I got another one tomorrow and another one Friday. And the next week I'm going to be busy because next weekend, not this coming one, but the next one is when they have the big 70+ mile yard sale thing. And that's why my house looks really bad. I've got boxes everywhere. I'm sorting out things to sell. We'll be set up out there with Sir Benji and his sister. And I'm sorting through a lot of things trying to get rid of them. All righty, so there's a couple of little things about detecting where you probably shouldn't be a detecting. And now I'm going to attempt to do something. I hope I don't break something or hurt myself. But I'm going to attempt to do a live demonstration of, we had a discussion about this in another channel and then over here as well, about your machine making strange chattering noises, and you can't figure out why. It's not electrical lines. You checked all kinds of things and you can't figure out why you're getting this interference in your signal. And I told a story about when that happened to me when I had my Garrett. And it turned out I had been detecting the schoolyard. It was legal for me to be there. And then the next time I went out, well, actually later that day and the next time I went out, I was getting all of this chitter chatter interference and tried all the usual things and still had it. So I went home, and it was a little muddy out there. So when I went home, I decided I was going to clean my coil really well. And I'm going to use this coil as an example. This is not the coil that I had. This is my SP22 that goes to my Simplex Plus. This is smaller than the standard and goes a little deeper on the signals, but it's bigger than the Sniper coil. So anyway, I pulled this out of my bag because I knew this was the last coil that I used, and I didn't think I had cleaned it when I put it away. There's Deej. Hi, Deej. We were just talking about would you detect in a cemetery, and I told everybody to watch your show where you're doing the special on getting permission to do a cemetery, because we just went through a couple of articles about reasons why you don't want to go hunting where you don't belong. So I'm looking forward to your show. Anyway, we're going to do a little demo here, and I may make a dadgum fool out of myself, but a couple of people were talking about this. Yeah, I know normally you wouldn't. Yep, Michigan's #1 ginger ale. Yep. I'm not sponsored by them, but I like them. There they are. Whoops. You didn't see that. Anyway, we had this discussion, and I told everybody that when I finally figured out what that noise was, it was because a little teeny tiny piece of a staple had gotten under my coil cover. And some people that were in there, I told them, once I took the coil cover off, and got all the junk out of there and cleaned it back up, that interference was gone. So what I'm going to do, because one of them was not 100% sure how to, if they had a coil cover, and another one wasn't sure how to get it off to clean under it. So I'm going to take this one because I know this one has probably got a little something under it. And I know that because this is the only one that I didn't clean. Well, I cleaned it, and then I used it one day to try to help a lady find an earring. So it may have something under it. So I'm going to try to do this demo. If you see this right here, this rim, this is the coil cover. This is your coil. This fits tightly on to keep your coil from getting scratched or hitting a rock with it, or knocking a chunk out of it, which will pretty much trash your coil. So periodically you need to clean under there, because even though it is a pretty tight seal, things can still, sand and such can still get up underneath there. So I'm going to attempt to do this live. Now on this particular one, oops, where's my glasses? They're all a little bit different, but this one you can kind of turn it and see where this snaps into place. Most of them you cannot. You just got to kind of. Now, what I do is, now on this coil, I've got a little flat edge, and I will stand the coil up and pull back, and you got to kind of pull and turn. You don't want to use anything super sharp like that. You may have to if it's really stuck, but I would recommend not using anything metal, if at all possible, because you could take a little chunk out of your coil if you do that. Now I have pulled it back, and I've already, so you can see it, it's already coming loose. and just kind of turn your coil. Hear it popping off. And just keep turning it all the way around until you get it loose. And there it is. There is your coil cover. Now, let me see. Here is my coil, and you will see right over there, there's a piece of grass under there. There's also some little pieces of dirt. There could also be a little piece of one of those staples or something under there. I can't believe I actually got it off that easy. But see that stuff? Even those little things will interfere with your signal. Now, what I do, and this is just totally up to you, but I get one of my little cotton gloves that I use for coins, and I just wipe everything down, make sure I'm getting all the little crumbs of dirt and grass, and this is not anything that's going to hurt my coil. It's not going to scratch it or anything. These gloves are very soft. You can get a microfiber cloth or something like that. If you've got mud under here, you might have to have something damp to remove all of that ickiness. Now, normally I would have some Armor All up here. I usually do the outside parts of mine with Armor All, but I don't have any right now. So we're just going to use the glove, wipe everything off real good all around the edges. Then we're going to set this aside for a moment. And here's the coil cover, which you can see has some little dirt and things in it. It's not clean. I'm going to do the same thing. Ooh, look at my, see? That's nasty. And those little bitty things can interfere. So you want to get them out of there. I'm sorry about my camera angles, but you get the idea. You don't want that up under your cover. Ideally, this should be done pretty much anytime you clean your detector, which should be every time you use it, but some of us get a little slack on that. But so now I've got it. The other thing that I use sometimes is a soft paintbrush. Hey, Flea! A soft paintbrush will get into all these little grooves and get all the ickiness out. I run my fingers all the way around it. I got it nice and clean in there. Now, here's the fun part. It sounds so simple, but if you do not get your cover back on tightly, it's going to get full of sand again. So you've got to make sure that when you put it back on, everything snaps down tightly. You'll hear it popping in place. I noticed when I got this out of my bag, there it went, it popped good that time. I noticed when I got this out of my bag that it was not completely popped into place. You may want to go around it 2 or 3 times and make sure everything is locked down tight. You don't want to leave any gaps. And that, my friends, now normally I would, like I said, I would do some, oops, I'm knocking things over here. I'm going to get a a wipe here. Normally I would use an Armor All wipe, but I'm out of those. So I'm just going to get a regular wipe. And because I don't want to put it back in my bag like that. So all clean. And if there was any little object in there that was going to cause me interference, it should be gone now. Most detectors, except for the really cheap ones, will come with a coil cover. And like this was an after the original purchase. This is not the stock coil that comes with my machine. This is one that was actually purchased later, but it came with one. So that, my dears, is basically how to make sure you don't have a bunch of junk under your coil cover that is causing you interference. And I can't believe I actually got it off of there without making a fool out of myself, because sometimes I have a hard time. And I had one detector that I could not get the coil cover off, and I was young and stupid. And I did this deal with a flathead screwdriver, and I ended up gouging a little chunk out of my coil, and I ended up, the coil was never right after that because it messed up how it read the frequencies and stuff, and I ended up having to get a new coil. So okay, on my page, the main page for my channel, there's a link there to Calico. They give me some money if people buy things through that link. I don't mention it too often because I had kind of a hard time collecting that money, but there's somebody different in that office now, so I told them I'd try again. But you can go over there and just search for Ace 250 coil cover, and they should come up. And they also have diggers you can search. I personally, I had a Garrett digger, and it was nice, but I also had this other one that Calico had sold my brother that was guaranteed for life. And when my brother gave it to me, I broke it within 2 weeks. So they replaced it, even though that company was out of business. And they replaced mine with the Nocta macro digger because I have a Nocta macro simplex. So that's what they gave me. And I really like that digger. It's quite comfortable, but my favorite digger I lost, and it wasn't even made for metal detecting. It was a little $8 or $9 garden digger that I got at either Home Depot or Lowe's, but it had a little pronged end for going around roots. My friend Susan and I used to call that digger Rambo. I was so unhappy when I lost Rambo, and I went back to both of those stores trying to find another one like it. No luck. But pretty much, unless you're going to be digging, professionally every day, most of the diggers are pretty much designed the same, except for the really expensive ones. And really, William, I don't think you need that. I don't think you're far enough into it yet Florida metal detecting or Deej may disagree with me on that, but like I said, the best digger I ever had was that little cheapy one. Yeah, I loved that little notch. That thing was I think the reason I liked it was because it was so all-terrain that, and I was living in Georgia, and I would have to get things out from under roots, but then the next week I would be at the beach in Florida because I was right at the Florida-Georgia line. So it was really a versatile digger. I do like the Nocta one. I actually gave away on the channel the Garrett digger, and I believe John Chum has that now. And that I won from Gypsy Jules. If you haven't watched her, she's like the queen bee of Texas as far as detecting goes. And I have several detecting friends in Texas, but Gypsy also does a podcast. But she gave me that. I won that on her channel, and I used it for quite a while. But it wore well. It looked like it was brand new when I gave it away. And when I gave it away, I asked the people on the channel, would you have any objection to winning a used piece of equipment that I just don't use anymore? And everybody said, oh, no, I want to win that. I want to win that. And I'm pretty sure that went to Canada, to John Chubb. So anyway, I hope that helped somebody with how to get those off. They can be a little tricky because they are made to fit tightly. The other reason you don't want to do this thing here, you will bend the rim. And if you bend the rim, then it's not going to keep dirt out of there. So don't do that. If you absolutely have to pry it to get it off, don't use anything like that or like that, because not only is this sharp, but it will also bend it out. Try to avoid that at all costs, because a coil in some cases can cost you a pretty penny. Most cases, it's going to cost you a pretty penny. And you don't want to ruin it. So that was really about all I had planned for tonight. I was trying to keep it short, where I'm done by 7, and I figured it was going to take me longer to do that demo because I usually struggle with my arthritis trying to get that off of there. But it was kind to me tonight. So, let me see, what else have I got going on? I did 2 newspaper articles. Oh yeah, this is something I want to do. I was on Monday night, and my friend Dawn the metal detectorist was in. Now Dawn has been sick for a couple of years now, and they can't figure out what's wrong with her. And she was kind of down. She said she wasn't sure she was going to be able to detect anymore. So if y'all could send out some healing vibes and positivity towards Dawn the Metal Detective, I would really appreciate it. So just wanted to throw that in. She and I took one heck of a trip a couple of years back down Florida. Dawn's from Virginia originally, but she lives in Texas. And when she heard that I was trying to go see my brother, and she was up in Virginia visiting her parents, she decided to take me down to Florida with her. She was going to go see her aunt. And we did some detecting down there. She got sick on that trip. She was already not well. But anyway, she's one of our detecting sisters, and please keep her in your thoughts. I'd appreciate that. And let me see, there was something else I was gonna share with the gang. I don't remember what it was now. When I get tired, I don't always remember stuff. And this is one of those times where I'm a little out of it this week. You can see I'm all puffed up from the meds. Yeah, not too bad, I guess. But anyway, what was I going to do? There was something else I wanted to talk about. Oh, if you're a Robert Ferguson fan, he put up a new video today, finally. He's been having detector issues. I don't know why, but it seems like everybody I know that has uses the Equinox 6 or 800 have issues with their detector not properly charging. I think the connection on the charger cord is not the best on those for a high-end detector. He said he tried 3 nights in a row to get his to charge, and the light was blinking like it was charged, but then he'd get ready to go to the beach and turn it on and it wasn't charged. So, but anyway, he got a new video out today and I watched it. So it's one of his night hunts at the beach. Always like watching him. Gosh, what was it? I blanked. There was something else that I was gonna do on this show. Talk among yourselves while I figure it out. Let me see here. Just looking at some newspaper articles, seeing if I can find another little gem like those other two. Let's see. What is this? I don't know. I can't come up with what I was going to do. So, there's Benji. There's Mr. Benji. You missed all the good stuff already, Benji. 2 newspaper articles and yeah, that's my fan that's buzzing. The way the heat and the air conditioning is vented in this part of the room, if I don't turn the fan on, I will either roast or freeze depending upon which part of the unit I'm running. So that is a little portable fan that is buzzing. And it's got to be here or I'll croak. Sir Benji, did you get my message about your grandson? That's an important message. I left it on your phone and on your text. So, always $1 short and 10 minutes late. That's me. No, it's not your phone. It's my fan. I leave that fan on pretty much all the time. So anyway, we did the 2 articles about places you don't want to get caught detecting. We did the demonstration of how to take your coil cover off and clean it. What else? Oh, we talked about the upcoming video that Deej has. And I think we've pretty much covered everything I wanted to cover. I got a busy tomorrow. So does anybody have any questions or further input on the oil maintenance or the digging in the places you're not supposed to be digging? I'll tell you, one of the most confusing places I've ever been on that is Central Florida, particularly Orange County, Florida. Now, Orange County is very, very friendly towards detectorists. They will give you a list of all of their county parks. Now, you do have to get a permit, but it's a lifetime permit. They will give you a list of all their county parks with a map showing where they are and designating, I think there's 3 that you cannot detect in. However, that is just for county property. If you go into the city of Orlando and you get caught in a city of Orlando park, they will arrest you and take your equipment away from you and make your life a living you know what. Now, the problem is you drive in and out, city, county. You got to be really careful to make certain you are not within the city limits of Orlando, because they will bust your butt. And the fines are stiff. So anytime you're planning on going on vacation somewhere, if you're going to Florida, I kind of know pretty much where you're allowed and where you're not allowed. But like Marion County and Ocala, which is in Marion County. That's another one. Both allow detecting, but both have separate permitting things. Their permits don't cover each other. You've got to get one from Marion County and one from City of Ocala. And then there, again, are places in Marion County you can't detect. So anytime you're going anywhere, do your homework. Don't get yourself in trouble. I was lucky when I moved to Virginia. I moved to a county that was very friendly towards the detectorists. But right across the state line, 25 miles away, the next county over, don't do it. Couldn't detect anywhere in that county that I ever found, except on private people's properties with permission. That being said, I only planned on doing an hour show tonight, and my hour is just about up. So I'm gonna go because I'm kind of in need of taking some of my meds. You can tell I'm a little not with it. I was fine earlier today, but now I'm not doing so hot. I don't know why. Maybe I need to eat. But I will probably come back on tomorrow and do some nickels. Where did I get more nickels? I got nickels because Sir Benji brought me some. I already had a few, but yeah, we'll come back on maybe later if I feel better after I eat and work on some nickels or pennies or something. But most likely I'm going to go to bed. So if everybody just find a cool place to hang out tonight. Don't forget, Deeja's got a premiere coming up. I think it's tomorrow. Is it Friday? I can't remember. I get so confused. There's so many channels. So many channels. Coining Around has already started for tonight if you're a coin person and you want to go over there. Deeja's is on Friday, the 26th at 6 o'clock. And this is her one that we were talking about where she got a rare cemetery permission. And we discussed earlier why in general you don't do cemeteries. Friday night, she's going to show you an exception. So she'll be on at 6 p.m. Eastern time on Friday. And on that note, I'm going to go. And like I said, I know Coining Around is on right now. If you're a coin people. So I don't know who else is on. I just happened to note that he is. So thank you all for coming. I hope you learned something. Yeah, tomorrow night, the late night Benji that I hardly ever make it to because I'm always asleep. Oh, I'm so sorry, Furry. I'm so sorry. So I hope that those articles and that little demo was helpful to somebody. Let me know if you want me to do some more stuff like that until I can get out and detect. I think I might do one on maintaining your camera equipment. I use a whole bunch of old junk on my detecting portion. I have a couple of old GoPros, but there's a trick to GoPros. So maybe I should do something about that as it relates to metal detecting. We shall see. All right, everybody, y'all have a great night. Yeah, yeah, Furry. We can pray for him if we have his name. And don't forget about Dawn the metal detector. Please keep her in your thoughts too. She's having a bad go. Furry may already be gone. All right, well, I'll see if I can find out her uncle's name. All right, gang. Y'all have a good night. Come back and see me. Bye. Junior. Okay, his name's Junior. We'll do that, Furry. We will do that. Good night, everybody.